to come and interfere in the affairs of a sovereign
to have a say,
unacceptable.
to have a say, to have
very
an
unacceptable.
opinion.
By your thanks. But one other point, I'm sure you would have observed this. Some Nigerians will go to cocktails or events organized by foreign missions. And when you hear what they are saying about Nigeria, you are alarmed. To foreigners.
Are you surprised?
No. Well, I mean, I'm not surprised. I mean, I've had experience of this over the years, but I think that it is something we ought to point out because some persons may be doing it out of ignorance. Some persons may be doing it because they want to curry favor from the host diplomats. Some people may just be doing it just because they are loose-lipped.
Yes, but I think they also have a right to their personal conversations as long as it's not public.
Yes, but the issue is this. There was a German diplomat who was posted to Nigeria. He served the first term, the second term, and the third term before eventually he got posted. And guess what? What did he say? He said he is the longest to have stayed in Nigeria. Why? All he did every day was to gather Nigerian papers about what is happening in the country and send it back to his country in Germany. And when they see the screaming headlines from the nobody was prepared to come into Nigeria. And he said Nigeria is a very wonderful country. It's a country that when he retires, he would like to come back and live in. But our own Nigerians paint Nigeria in most dangerous, bad light than Nigeria is.
Bayo, just
that
quickly,
sums it up.
Yes, before we end this review, just quickly, in less than 2 minutes, FG to end petrol subsidy, that's one, by June 2022. FG plans 5 million solar-powered households. We've heard this, and we had a conversation on this here. And then I think the last one is the okay, those two for me are the,
Well, with the subsidy ending in June, this was an issue that was raised at the National Economic Summit that was going on yesterday. And the representative of the World Bank was drawing attention to subsidy that it cannot be carried on. And the Minister for Finance and Budget and National Planning indicated that provision has been made up till June next year. By June next year, it is hoped that the refineries that have been revitalized would be on stream, Dangote refinery will be on stream, and hopefully an end will come to subsidy. But until we have petrol that is produced locally here, the issue of subsidy will continue to dodge us because petrol permeates every aspect of our economy.
Bayo, well, I didn't read the comment by the rep of the World Bank. He was speaking generally about subsidy being unhealthy to an economy, then that would not be the correct narrative. Advanced countries subsidize their farmers.
Yes. U.S.
subsidize their farmers.
Wheat farmers.
So,
if you...
But we know that there is inefficiency in our downstream sector. Yes. So deal with that inefficiency, but not to tell us that subsidy is bad.
Subsidy is bad in itself.
Subsidy as an item. It is deal with inefficiency, not with the issue generally of subsidy. The other one I was discussing just before you came in had to do with Fashola's call for government to audit privatized firms. At some point in this country, we were hearing by the experts who were telling us that privatization was the way to go. Privatization was the way to go. What has happened since then?
So, if we must get revenue, privatized organizations must be audited so that they will pay their due. You will recall that some companies were found not to have been making the adequate payments they were making. In fact, federal government gave them some tax relief by saying that what they ought to have paid for over the period of years should be committed to some certain developmental projects. And that was a way out for them. It's very, very critical.
All right. Well, let's see how it goes. When the audit is finally done, we'll know whether or not the privatization exercise, has worked for us the way it was done. Bayo, thank you. And I hope, please, what's that your area again, so that we'll deal with the traffic.
Claire, you said you had only 2 minutes. You are eating
the traffic. We need to deal with the traffic on your area.
The challenge is on the airport road now. The traffic is building, and the bottleneck at the stadium is not helping matters. You have 5 lanes dovetailing into 2 lanes. And once there's a single truck that breaks down on the highway, you have
It's a design error. It's a design error because you cannot have 5 lanes coming from the airport and then suddenly narrow it into a bottleneck, and the bottleneck is actually also a sharp bend. So I don't know how that is going to be sorted out, because that is where you always have the traffic at peak hours. It's a design problem.
Yes.
And, I mean, I have issues with the way the roads, the highways in Abuja are designed. So if you look at the shoulder is on the service lane. The shoulder is on the left instead of being on the right. So nobody would then stop on the hard shoulder on the left. They will stop on the right, close up that lane, and then open the door. So many issues.
And
I'm sure
there's only one route when you are coming along
I'm
the
sure
airport.
Engineer Kazim
The
Ali
other
is
alternative
watching
routes-
because he's...
The other alternative routes have not been developed.
Yeah, well, still
Engineer
being
Kazim
developed.
Ali is watching. He's a great advocate for local, engineers working. All right, Bayo, thank you.
Thank you,
And
too.
we'll keep making room for your lateness because of this hold up. Bayo, thank you. Have a great day.
The lateness is occasional.
It's circumstantial.
All right, then, Kisley, you have to sign
All
off.
right, Bayo, we appreciate you being
Thank you
around
too.
today. See you again tomorrow. It's Good Morning Nigeria. We're live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. We're taking a short break now. When we return, we'll be dealing with the eNaira. This is our second time, actually, of interrogating this subject matter. We took on it some 6 weeks or so ago.
Government through NPHCDA commenced phase 2 vaccination of all persons 18 years and above with safe and effective COVID-19 vaccines approved by WHO and certified by NAFDAC. Special arrangement has been made for staff, their dependents and retirees of ministries, departments and agencies of government, private corporate organizations and non-governmental organizations. To benefit from this special arrangement, visit www.nphcda.gov.ng/corporate vaccination/ to obtain, fill and submit the Google form. NPHCDA will contact you within 48 hours. Protect yourself, your family and your workplace against COVID-19. COVID-19 vaccines are free, safe and effective. For further inquiries, call 0700-220-1122 or send a mail to covid19.vaccination@nphcda.gov.ng. This message is from the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency.
Enjoy faster connectivity and amazing discounts in the Airtel HBB seasonal offer. Get a MiFi for 9,999 Naira plus up to 55 GB data, or a router for 19,999 Naira plus up to 160 GB data. Offer valid while stock lasts. More data, more you. Reliable home broadband by Airtel, the smartphone network.
The counsel of our fathers.
My advice to these young people is please do not take us back to those harrowing days. You probably do not know what it is.
Nigerian youths, let's build our nation together.
Dear compatriots, our country can be as great as we want.
Let us all commit ourselves to its greatness.
We must be willing to set aside our differences, unite and stay as one.
In our expansive landmass, human and material resources, and plurality lies our strength.
Let our challenges lead us to rediscover our common ground, and together, let's find solutions.
This will take some time, so it requires patience, tolerance, and forgiveness from every one of us.
Let all hands come on deck to protect and transform our country.
Let us unite and see each other not as adversaries, but as brothers and sisters.
Together, we can build a better Nigeria for ourselves and for the next generations.
This message is brought to you by the National Orientation Agency, NOA, with support from Nigerian Television Authority, NTA.
All right, let's begin our conversation by listening into our backgrounder. And of course, we know the backgrounder is on the unveiling of Africa's first central bank's digital currency, known as the eNaira. And it is a platform, designed to deepen financial inclusion, among other benefits, and of course, simplify transactions in its complementary role to the paper notes. And the president said that benefits of the eNaira will cut across sectors and concerns of the Nigerian economy. Leah Katun Babatunde is the reporter, or she compiled together for us this background report. Let's listen in.
applause as Nigeria sets foot into the sands of history with the offering of the central bank's digital currency, CBDC. China took the first step. Bahamas and Cambodia have also issued digital currencies. The journey of the eNaira began in 2017, and the blockchain technology grew rapidly after coronavirus fueled lockdowns and shut-ins globally. These technological advancements is expected to increase Nigeria's GDP by $29 billion in the next 10 years. President Muhammadu Buhari sees the eNaira making monetary policy more effective and enabling government to send direct welfare packages to eligible citizens, as transactions can be carried out without the internet using the USSD.
It is on the basis of this that the Central Bank of Nigeria sought and received my approval to explore issuing Nigeria's own central bank digital currency named the eNaira. This move was underpinned by the fact that the CBN has been a leading innovator in the form of money they produce and in the payment services they deploy for efficient transactions.
Hyperinflation and strain on the nation's foreign reserves are economic concerns the president is also of the view the eNaira will address. There's been an overwhelming interest in the eNaira since its announcement, and the central bank notes that 33 banks are fully integrated and live on the platform. 500 million naira has been successfully minted by the bank. 200 million naira has been issued to financial institutions. Over 2,000 customers have been onboarded, and over 120 merchants have successfully registered on the eNaira platform as at Monday morning.
Many other projects, about 3-4 more projects that are on our table, and I assure Nigerians that we will deliver those projects. We usually embark on these projects not because we want to embark on them, but it is because we believe that in delivering our own core mandate of price and monetary stability, that achieving or working on those projects directly impact on our results.
The project is expected to, among other things, support a resilient payment system ecosystem, encourage rapid financial inclusion, reduce cost of processing cash, enable direct and transparent welfare interventions to citizens, increase revenue and tax collection, facilitate diaspora remittances, reduce the cost of financial transactions, as well as improve the efficiency of payments.
Thank you very much, Leah Katung Babatunde, for that backgrounder. With us in the studios now to discuss this issue, let's welcome Dr. Hassan Mahmoud. He's the director in charge of the Monetary Policy Department of the Central Bank of Nigeria. Dr. Mahmoud, pleasure to have you with us this morning.
Good morning.
Okay. Also, joining this conversation are three of our regular guests on economic and financial matters. Professor Uche Waleke. Professor Waleke is a professor of capital markets at Nasarawa State University and also a former commissioner for finance. Imo State. He also chairs the Abuja branch of the Chartered Institute of Bankers. Prof, delighted to have you this morning.
Thank you, Kinsley. Good morning, Nigeria.
All right. It's an interesting team we have here. We also want to welcome Niyi Akinsiju. He's a financial and investment analyst and also a friend of the house. Niyi, thank you once again for joining us.
Thank you so much. It's a privilege. Good morning, Nigerians.
Yes. So let's go to Lagos, and Shuaibu Idris, Managing Director, Timeline Consult Limited, and a former banker, is also joining us from our Lagos studio. I'd like to welcome you, Mr. Idris. Thank you for joining us on the program.
Thank you for having me, Claire. Good morning, Nigeria.
All right, gentlemen, once again, our pleasure to have you with us on this conversation. When we kicked off the first part of this discussion some 6 weeks ago, Shuaibu Idris, of course, was one of our guests, along with Professor Mike Abadan, who is a member of the Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank. But happily, Dr. Hassan Mahmoud is here, as Director in charge of Monetary Policy at the CBN. Now, let's have some more in-depth background to the eNaira, because I recall that on Good Morning Nigeria, we had hosted a conversation on cryptocurrency as the new wave. And there was a young man who was our guest here, and but the way he was going about it was so detailed that, and telling us that that was the way to go. All our guests, who were also financial experts, did say that we couldn't neglect cryptocurrency or whatever variant there was. But the CBN then came up and said, look, cryptocurrency isn't legal tender, and that no one should proceed with cryptocurrency as a system of payment in the economy. But here we are today, we have the eNaira. What changed?
Thank you very much, Kinsley. A lot of things changed. And even from the initial situation where we came out, or the central bank came out to put a kind of caution note on the proliferation or the expansion or the penetration into the cryptocurrency space, was principally around the fact that, one, cryptos are private monies. They are not within the purview of the regulation of the central banks. We don't even have the tools to actually monitor or control that, because it's in that space and it's encrypted. And the central bank's main mandate, or part of its mandate, is to ensure a sound and stable financial system, including allowing the monetary system or the monetary ecosystem to operate efficiently for our policies to pass through to the rest of the economy. There were systemic risks that were building up because, one, the knowledge of that crypto was not clear. Two, our system, payment ecosystem, banking system, were not modeled to accept that kind of engagement or mechanism of making payments. So the central bank found it very, very essential at that initial stage, and which was all over the world, not only Central Bank of Nigeria, all central banks of the world came in clearly to give that caution note that this is a bubble, it's going to burst. We've seen several of it in the past, and people should take caution. But we didn't stop anybody from, going into crypto. It's a free world, it's a free space that you can go into, but come into our financial space such that depositors' funds will now be at risk in the event that the system collapses, because you pull in from the capital of the bank to cover those holes in the event that there is a collapse in that system, or there's a loss, or there's a fraud in that. And it's those deposit funds that will go in. Central Bank has already guaranteed that for the entire economy, that we are assuring you, Central Bank and NDIC, that for as long as you keep your money in a bank that is licensed by us, then we assure you that that money is safe. So that moral hazard is on us to make sure that we ensure that the banking system is sound and safe, so that the depositors' funds are not just wiped out overnight. You saw things that happen on crypto where one exchange just picks up and billions of dollars are gone. They don't know who it is. Nobody knows how to find those funds. So I think those initial concerns and uncertainties build into why we need to take that very, very responsible position in terms of ensuring that take caution. Everybody has his own risk profile or risk appetite. If you think, yes, you can make $1 billion overnight and you want to stake all your life investment, it's your personal choice. But you don't bring it, you have to isolate that within your own space. You don't bring other people that don't have that kind of risk appetite into that your space.
Okay. Does the CBN have the intention of a long-term intention for the eNaira? In other words, do you intend that maybe at some point it will become a global, it will have a global desire, just like the crypto?
Yeah, the currencies operate in their own space. They have their boundaries. They are legal tenders for specific economies. I know the BIS is already creating a forum where central banks around the world, like a settlement platform, a global settlement platform, where so people key into that school, and when the eNaira space builds or more central banks adopt it, you have a central platform where settlements are done. that is cross-border settlement, international transactions are done. So that is the way, you know, the world is looking at it, and that is the expectation that because convertibility of currencies is based on the acceptance of your currency by other economies of the world. And the reasons for accepting your currency has to do with your economy, the trust of other parameters within the economy that makes that country's currency to be accepted by other countries of the world. So there will be a basket of where these currencies, these CBDCs, will be, and that exchange can take place. But there will be a central, you know, clearing system for that. So invariably, in the long run, we expect the eNaira to, you know,
so that would eventually eliminate my question. You know, the risks involved in, you know, cryptocurrency wouldn't apply to, you know, the eNaira when it eventually gets to your concerns raised about the cryptocurrency. Wouldn't apply to the e-currency.
You know, the risk in terms of the cryptocurrency I was mentioning is in terms of, you know, that asset bubble, that asset price bubble that was going on. It's not risk around technology, it's not risk around cyber attack, it's not risk around the operational, it's about that mechanism of, you know, price volatility, you know, unpredictability of that development. It was just speculative. It's not based on any underlying assets. So when it collapses, it just crashes. You know, nothing to pull it up that, okay, for banks now, as you have commercial banks, now you have your paid up capital. And that's why in the banking field, you say we make provision for losses. So when there's any hole, you pull in from this capital to cover that hole. In the case of credit, there's no any underlying asset. It was just like in the 2000, what Kinsley just mentioned, the 2007 global financial crisis. The housing bubble was building on derivatives. There were no houses there. And, you know, prices were going up. So when it came crashing, there was nothing to hold to.
Precisely.
Yes.
Dr. Mahmoud, thank you very much. I know that you mentioned BIS, that's the Bank of International Settlements.
Yes.
But before we get to that level still, again, break it down for our viewers. What is eNaira? What is eNaira? How can you possess it and how can you spend it?
eNaira, like we say, is the same Naira, but with many more possibilities. It's the digital form of the cash Naira. So it's like I'm giving you 10,000, but you're not seeing the 10,000. But it's as good as taking out 10,000 from my pocket and giving to you. It's different from me giving you my POS, I mean, what do you call that, my ATM, and say, there's 10,000 in this ATM. When you go outside, you get it. That is still, you know, something that can happen over there. But the eNaira is like giving you 10,000 Naira now, cash, but it's digital, virtual. So it is the same Naira. It has the same value with the current Naira we have. It is serves the same value as the currency Naira we have. It's a store of value, it's a unit of account, it's a means of exchange or transaction. So it has those qualities, but it's not an asset that you can trade in. And so that's why we keep emphasizing our CBDC is not interest-bearing. But things can also change in that space because, like we always say, that we just create the environment. The people that will build around that space, the fintechs, the payment solutions, the banks, the FIs, the non-FIs, that will build their own product to tap on that space that is created. Just like we created banks and they started creating different products for people to invest in, savings scheme, school fees, trust fund, and stuff like that. So the eNaira is just the digital form of the same Naira issued by the central bank, having the fiat or the banking of the central bank. It's the full liability of the central bank. The eNaira wallet, the Speed wallet is domiciled with the central bank, but we're also interfacing with FIs, telcos, we're interfacing with fintechs in that ecosystem to also contribute to that space because, you know, there are issues around financial. We have that hybrid system where commercial banks and all the financial institutions also. What we have on ground now is, if you have, there are two channels of downloading your Speed wallet. If you have an Android system, you have your Google Play Store. If you have an iOS system, you have your Apple Store. You go there, just type in eNaira on your search engine, and you will see everybody's familiar with the logo now that we have, and you just download it. And when you download it, it is very user-friendly. Tells you put in your email, put in your address, put in your name, your full name, as in your BVN number, your date of birth. Those KYCs are just important for we to be sure that this is the real person, because the more KYC requirements you have, the more robust that system is than just say, give your name and your state. You know, it could be
Sorry, Dr. Mahmood.
Yes.
Going forward, when you are explaining, you know, you use a number of these acronyms or abbreviations. Let our viewers know. I don't. Not every. Some people will say KYC, that know your customer, but how many of them will know that? You say FIs, financial institutions. Just to keep explaining.
Okay, so
we know that that's your field, but
yes,
there are many persons out there who want to know about this eNaira.
Yes.
Say, how does it look like?
Yes.
That's what you are trying to explain.
Yes.
Yes, please proceed. Yes.
Yes. Starting from where you just stopped, how does it look like? It's just the symbols you see. Nobody can touch that Naira for now or forever anyway. So, but like I was explaining, when you download the wallet, and the wallet means like the account. You open your account. When you say you onboard, your onboard is like opening an account. But this time you don't need to go to a bank. You sit down here, take your phone. So long as you have the services, you download it if it's a smartphone, and you get the wallet on your system, and you just start with the process of logging in or signing up on the system. And then I just mentioned the know your customers requirement in terms of the things that you need to give, your name, your date of birth, and this, we must also emphasize that this information you are giving are very important. You have to keep it to your head. If you put your name as Hassan Mahmoud, you don't come and write it at Mohammed Hassan. The system will reject it. You have your BVN, your date of birth. If we say your state of origin is different from your state of residence. All of us are in Abuja here, but we come from different states. For that uniqueness, so people should remember. You can decide to choose anyone. You can decide to say myself is Abuja. Oh, that's fine. But you must remember it when you are trying to log into it, because these credentials will also be required for you to get in, and those are protections against fraud or people identity theft and stuff. So when you download that into your system, what we've explained now is that you from your accounts, because we tie it to your account because of this know your customers requirement. The current banking system is already comfortable with that. The BVN system is already having all those details of your bank. So from your account, if I'm banking with the First Bank, I can just move Naira from my Naira cash account to my eNaira wallet, just from within my system. I can also do that. We call that person to person. You can make that transaction instantly, and this exchange happens in seconds because you are operating within the same system. You are not going through any other system to settle that. So it's instant settlement that you do there, and it's finality. And then you can also make transfers, like everything I can do with electronic payment systems now. Yeah, so you can make transfers to or make payments for purchases. We call that P2M. That is persons to merchant. You can do business to business, B2B. You can do financial institutions to central bank. So you have those different buckets that you can engage in, including purchases, paying hotel bills, and then we also mentioned that even the government or fiscal authorities can also use that as a channel for collecting taxes. People sit in their houses, pay salaries, and yes, you can. We get to that stage. So it's like when you have, you said if you have a daughter, that she will grow up to become a wife. It's not the first day,
Okay,
it's after.
You've been
those
mentioning
stages.
some items. Know your customer, bank, and services, which means that first you must be bankable. You must have a bank account.
At this initial stage, subsequent stages,
and
you
you
don't
must have
necessarily
services.
need to have a bank account.
Okay. Subsequently, you don't have to have a bank. But
yes,
what about the internet aspect? Because even to download the apps, you need to have some form of connectivity.
Yeah.
Yes.
You see,
so isn't that restrictive?
We are very careful the way we give these narrations. You see, this is a very big ecospace that we are looking at, and the possibilities are numerous, and it depends on how we advance in our sensitization, in our sophistication in technology, in our inclusion, that we expand this space. But the important point is that scalability is huge. So we also have, the governor said it, I think yesterday, that you can actually do this transaction even without internet. The USSD that we're doing now, so you just use code, *844, you make your transfers. We can still do that. We're also having, because, we emphasize these issues around financial inclusion, bringing an economic empowerment. So bringing those unbanked or those that don't have access to finance to come into that space. And those that don't have that are those that are in the rural areas now, or those that have miniature jobs that are not within the formal system, to bring, and they use what we call the future phones. They don't use smartphones. So how do you get those kind of people on board? How do you get the market women that are still struggling to make their ends meet to go and get Android phone or Apple phone? So we have, possibilities of also onboarding that using telcos, because you have agent banks now in villages. Those can also onboard people. Apart from the commercial banks, there are some villages you go, there are no commercial banks, or there are no, formal financial institutions. But they have agent, POS operators. Those can also onboard you. We're also doing collaborations with telcos, fintechs guys. And like I said, the possibilities are numerous. As we go live, you will see, smart guys bringing on solutions that can help in that space.
All right. Dr. Hassan Mahmoud, thank you very much there. We gave you enough time to explain. And our experts, of course, are still here on the program. But let's go very quickly to Shuaibu Idris. Shuaibu Idris, let's take advantage of your earlier participation in the first installment of this conversation. Now the eNaira is here with us. Is it a new day and a new dawn?
Extremely lucky to have an erudite scholar, Dr. Hassan Mahmoud, to have explained even more. Kingsley, if you remember, one of the issues that we raised during our last discourse on this subject matter was the level of sensitization and education. I think it was part of your closing remarks. One major issue that we see is the procedure of government policies. Normally, you decide, you announce, you defend, then you begin to educate. The procedure needs to probably change. Look at the level of elucidation by Dr. Hassan. I've never heard about all these procedures until today, and this currency was launched yesterday. Okay, I'm not an ignoramus as far as this is concerned, but I put my position, say, in my brothers and sisters in the rural parts of Nigeria. How and where will they get to know all this? Again, if you remember, your comment 5-6 weeks ago, when it comes to sensitization, how much level of education will be said to be sufficient so that Nigerians will get to know? I did try, for example, yesterday and this morning, to onboard, if I may use the phrase, to onboard and get my speed wallet. Guess what I got? The system says my state of origin is wrong. Why will my state of origin be wrong, for example? And why will you even be asking me to state my state of origin? You already have my account details. I'm putting my account number. I'm putting the bank verification number. Why then are you asking me of additional data and this and that? Yes, okay, Dr. Hassan said is know your customer, KYC. But the system appears to be a bit somewhat opaque. And from day one, if we are really going to get value for this digital currency, maybe from day one, we should have targeted the unbanked Nigerians. When you are starting from day one with those of us that already have a bank account, where is the value? Where do we get the value for you know, getting, you know, a large populace of Nigerians to be at least brought into the financial ecosystem. You know, the central bank needs to do a little more. Be that as it may, I think I will still give it, I will give the Central Bank of Nigeria kudos. We are the first in Africa, among the first in the world, apart from China and a few other countries. No other central bank has, you know, brought about a digital currency. So the Central Bank of Nigeria, we say well done to you. You've done us proud, and this is not the first. We were the first to bring in the bank verification number, and when we are doing transaction alert on our system, telephones and emails, till now, even the European Union countries aren't as advanced as we are in certain areas. So we give glory to God for having quality materials like Dr. Hassan and the lady heading the IT systems of Central Bank, that is Rukaya, that are putting all these structures in place. But you need to do more, particularly in area of education and sensitization. We need to see sensitization in various Nigerian languages, not just Hausa, Yoruba, Igbo, but we must do in other, you know, languages that Nigerians will at least get to know and embrace this system, because it is good for us. It is certainly going to add value to our system, to our economy, and indeed to an average Nigerian.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Idris, for your contribution. We'll come back to the studio. Professor Uche Uwaleke, let's try and underscore some of the benefits, because I know every monetary policy is targeted at addressing a particular, or some particular challenges or issues. So one, we've talked about financial inclusion, which is one of the, you know, key benefits, and also ease of transaction. But if you look at the approach now, you know, are we going to tick off those benefits? Are we going to achieve the financial inclusion that you know it set out to do?
Thank you, Claire. First, let me join others in commending the central bank. For me, it's thumbs up for the central bank. The Central Bank Governor and his team, you know, for coming up with this eNaira. And it would even appear that the extension of time we had from October 1st to October 25, you know, gave them, you know, some more room to also, you know, touch on. Exactly. Because we hear now that about over 2,000 customers, you know, have been onboarded, and over 150 merchants, you know, have also been, you know, onboarded. But what is important to note is that the project is a pilot one, so it is starting small. And that's why you hear that for now, it's just 500 million naira that has been minted. Okay. Issued. Okay, Kinsley, let me touch on that. You know, you've been mentioning.
Yes.
Okay, why it is minted is the register, is the technical term, you know, for it. You know, this eNaira is going to operate on a technology known as blockchain. It's running on a blockchain technology, just like you have your cryptocurrency. And the process of creating blocks and recording them on the blockchain under what they call proof of stake is what is referred to as minting. So the central bank is actually minting the eNaira. I'm saying it's a technical term, you know, because it's going to run on blockchain technology.
Not the.
Yeah, but blockchain is not. I know that we are digressing because, but this point is useful because we talked about it during our newspaper review. But blockchain technology is not only utilized in the currency business.
Yes, but that is what is powering. That's the technology behind the eNaira.
I know.
Yes.
But you are saying that the process of creating this is called minting.
Yes.
And because it, according to you, because it is running on blockchain technology. And I'm saying that blockchain technology isn't available only to currency transactions or currency processing.
That's
it's available elsewhere. So
yes.
Elsewhere that is available, and you create
additional
you
value.
create ideas, or you create processes to run on blockchain. How do you describe that creation? Is it also minting those ideas?
That's what I'm saying. When you look at the literature on cryptocurrency, blockchain, okay, you hear things like mining crypto, okay, and minting, and they tend to distinguish the two. They talk about proof of stake and proof of work, okay. So as I said, when you create those blocks and you put them on with the blockchain, that process is called minting of the currency. So that's why the central bank, in my view, is also using the term, the mint.
Minted.
So they have said they have minted 500, naira worth of eNaira, and have issued 200. 200.
Yes, 200 million.
200 million worth of so you can see they're just starting small. So those benefits, I'm coming to your question.
Yes, because if one of the key benefits is to attain financial inclusion,
yes,
the informal sector has not been captured. So why are you not focusing on
when you just finished your master's now, when you're doing research and you're using you do pilot testing. Okay, so when you pilot test, okay, it allows you to, achieve reliability. You want to carry out reliability test, okay, and validity test. For reliability test, one of the things you do is you pilot test. So you start small, such that when there is a problem, you can quickly suspend and correct. Okay, that's why he talked about scalability. It has the potential to be scaled up, but for now, the important thing is to start small, to start with, because I also tried to, get on board, yesterday.
And you could not.
Yes, but what is important is that, at least some people have, been able to, join. And as I said, it's the intention of the central bank, to roll this out gradually.
Why were you not able to get on board? Is it the same issue that Mr. Idris raised?
No, not the same issue. I contacted my bank, and the answer I got was that they weren't.
Okay, they had not been onboarded.
Exactly, they weren't ready. So, so the point I'm making, you're talking about the benefits. These benefits of financial inclusion, even facilitating cross-border trade, facilitating remittances, and all of that will come when you have scale. Okay, so for now it is still
pilot.
Yes, it is still at the pilot, pilot stage. So I think I'm looking at the potentials, and part of these potentials the president mentioned in his speech. Talking about the potential to achieve $29 billion, GDP, in addition to what we have now in the next 10 years. Okay, so it is scale that will bring that about, and of course, with innovations around it, with the possibility of moving a lot of people in the future from the informal sector to the formal sector, with the possibility of growing the revenue base of the government, for example, through improved tax collections, that will also put the government in a position to spend more. So that is where the GDP growth will be coming. And remember too that the eNaira, because it is going to facilitate payment, is expected to increase what we call the velocity of money in the economy. Velocity of money is the rate at which, the speed at which money exchanges hands, and that tends to also create economic activity. So GDP is likely to grow, with the with this eNaira. And the other benefits, of course, on the part of the central bank, it will reduce their cost of printing cash, and even destroying cash. It will reduce the cost of managing cash, even on the part of processing cash on the part of banks.
Okay,
the government.
Yes.
Yes, so the government has also said that anytime they want to embark on these interventions, welfare schemes, they will now use eNaira. Yes, which of course you expect to be, faster. So let me make my last point about crypto and the eNaira. The problem with crypto is because it is used, private cryptocurrency now. Take for example, Bitcoin and Ethereum. People don't use them as a means of payment. the bulk of the use, at least the people I know that are doing private crypto, they are not using them as a means of payment, as opposed to this eNaira. They are using them as a means of investment. They see private crypto as an asset class. So people invest in Bitcoin and invest in because they expect it to appreciate. So that is where the problem is. Okay, when it is not serving, as a means of payment, but as a means of investment. So because you don't know who is issuing it, because
the eNaira does not appreciate.
It doesn't appreciate. It's the same value with your Naira, and it's non-interest bearing. So it's primarily a means of payment. That's the major distinction.
All right. Thank you very much, Professor Waleke. Niya Akinseju, we apologize. We've kept you on hold for a pretty long while. So we're coming to you at this time. What do you see that makes the eNaira unique and therefore something that should be embraced? There are a number of issues that are arising now. We're already getting into the age of electronic transactions in terms of payments, and many persons have hooked on to that. There are certain transactions you make these days. All you just need to do is to say, look, give me your account number, and then the money is wired directly into your account. No cash involved. So what is the big deal about the eNaira?
Well, I think there's a lot of big deal about the eNaira. Of course, I join others in applauding the CBN for this initiative. And again, Nigeria ranks as one of the first 6, globally in adopting the digital currency. I think for a country like Nigeria, it is a leap of faith, in my consideration. Small as it is in the beginning, the potentialities are huge because I visualize it as starting from a V point. You know how a V is. You start at a small point and then you expand, even with limitless possibilities, as it were. The eNaira talks to facilitating perhaps the biggest component of the Nigerian GDP, trade and services. Of course, we know that trade and services constitute about more than 55% of our GDP. And what drives trade is principally transactions, and the easiest, the more convenient payment systems are. Transactions are driven, like Prof said, velocity of money. It's enabled. And in doing that, of course, economic activities are also the momentum, it's also well oiled. So for me, I think this is a brilliant intervention. Again, looking towards the African Free Trade Zone, it's principally a trade issue. It would, of course, enable that linkage between the eNaira and the African payment system that is also been in prospect now. And I think it's better it's starting this way, where perhaps the elite class, are introduced to it, and when when the momentum starts, the informal sector will naturally latch onto it. It's normal. And of course, you also, because beyond official engagement in terms of enlightenment and information dispersal on platforms like this, you also need the person-to-person engagement where those who had known how to use it, would be able, to enlighten those who are on the margin as it is. Because the truth of the matter is, the eNaira is coming on a platform of how do I call it, of technicalities, and our informal sector may not be able easily, comprehend all the dynamics, involved. So there is a need for people who are experienced enough in its usage to continue at their different levels to talk and, of course, educate people at the informal sector. And talking about the social investment program, especially the cash transfer, and I think the government had clearly stated that transfers will be made, based on this platform. I think it will be a good way, of one, creating the formality in the system. Most of the people at the level of, most of the beneficiaries of the cash transfer and even the free food, the free meal segment of the social investment programs are in the informal sector. So when we are able, this system will be able to formalize them, bring them into a register of sorts, and of course, it will also enable an understanding of that engagement at that level. And more than that, I think the fact that we can now conveniently make purchases, and I hope a lot of merchants, that is where the need for engagement and enablement is important. A lot of merchants should be able to onboard. When you have a lot of merchants onboarding, it makes it convenient for anybody to sit in the comfort of his or her home, and transact business. And I think if we are talking about addition to the 2.9 billion per annum addition to GDP that will accumulate to 29 billion in the next 10 years, it is the drive, it's the momentum of that transactions, that will enable it.
All right, Niyi, thank you. Just before we come back to the Dr. Mahmood, I want to bring in Dr. Idris, Mr. Idris from our Lagos Network Center. Mr. Idris, everybody is applauding the CBN and, of course, by extension, the federal government, for this. It's good to transact, conduct your transactions seamlessly, without even having to touch anything. But have we also considered the other side, the flip side of this initiative? Onboarding or migration is optional, and it is just for spending purposes. It is to ease your transaction. What about corruption? What about reckless spending? What about, I don't know if there's a ceiling. How does it help to check such practices?
Well, thank you very much, Claire. I think one of the benefits of the central bank digital currency is possibly to checkmate corrupt practices. I dare say that people who tend to receive bribes or incentives are usually receiving these monies in cash. So there is no trace as to evidence how and where those monies were paid. If all of us get on board in the digital currency, paperless transaction will be the order of the day, and at the same time there will be what we call in audit a transaction trail. So corruption will naturally be significantly reduced because the e-wallet comes in with every data of the holder of that wallet. Fraud, certain other malpractices may still persist because these are man-made technology that will obviously can be compromised by other, persons that may be using their brains negatively. So obviously, those challenges will be there. However, whether we like it or not, like Professor Oweleke has said, there are advantages of using this currency, and Nigeria, and indeed the government of Nigeria, will eventually be the ultimate, beneficiary of the introduction of this currency. We will have improved transparency. Issue of ghost workers, for example, will naturally be eliminated because it will be near impossible for one person to have multiple wallets, as the case may be. Of course, like I did say, human beings, and given the capacity of what God has endowed our brains with, people can still find a way to circumvent. But certainly, the eNaira will have, advantages in terms of taxation, collection, and in terms of reduction in if you like, various malpractices associated with our system. The major issue we see is, which is still not clarified as at today, is the eNaira, issuer is the central bank. Now, if I own an electronic wallet, am I a customer of the central bank? What is the interrelationship between the central bank, myself, and say my commercial bank, where I may be taking money from my current account to put? And if, for example, the expansion of this cryptocurrency or digital currency is achieved, and someone on the street of Lagos, for example, gets onboarded without having a bank account, so is that person, directly a customer of the central bank? Is this signaling, the end of, the beginning of the end of commercial bank as we see them today? These are issues that the central bank needs to come out to clarify. This issue of stimulus payment, particularly under the African, free trade, continental free trade agreement, is, unless otherwise Naira achieves some level of convertibility, it will be near impossible, for example, for me sitting in Nigeria and then making payment to a Ghanaian, after the Central Bank of Ghana may have introduced the ECD, because they're about introducing. So unless there is some level of convertibility, the restriction in terms of transfer, the limitation as regards, opportunity to get foreign exchange from the central bank, these are issues that, I think the earlier the central bank comes out with a bit of explanation and position, the better. Because leaving it in a cloudy situation as we are today, it leaves us to have some doubt as to the possibility of the achievement of a $29 billion improvement in our GDP as posited by the central bank yesterday.
Thank you very much, Shuaibu Idris, for the questions that you have raised. We will allow Dr. Hassan Mahmoud to respond to those issues. And one I would like you to also keep in mind, that's Shuaibu Idris, when you were talking about some of the challenges relating to cross-border transactions. I was just wondering, would that be the end of the use of LCs, letters of credit? If I can sit down here and then make my own cross-border transactions, are LCs dead? But Dr. Hassan Mahmoud, a number of questions. Yes. You said, look, back again to your explanation of e-wallet, how you download, how you make transactions. One question that Shuaibu Idris has raised. When you are using the eNaira, are you a direct customer of the central bank, or you are still a customer of your bank? So that if things go wrong, privity of contract, you know who to sue and so on and so forth.
Yeah, Shuaibu raised a few other issues. And before I just begin going into that, I think I must commend NTA for even giving us this privilege to do this. And if we're able to do more of this, we couldn't have been doing this before launching, even though we could have done some background sensitization, but there is a very robust plan to expose this as much as possible. We had a lot of interactions and correspondence with financial institutions, fintech associations in the process of building this. But I think the general public will need to also be well sensitized and educated on this, and we already have a system to address that. Issues around if you open or if you onboard and you download a speed wallet, you are principally a direct customer of the Central Bank of Nigeria. And that's why you said it is retail CBDC that we're doing. You are relating directly with the central bank system. And so that transaction, and that's why I say is the fiat of this, is the full liability of the Central Bank of Nigeria. However, we integrated with the financial institutions to also, because you see, you build on what you already have. We already have a very robust, very sophisticated payment system infrastructure on ground. there's no need to start a new thing. So it's also part of the scalability of that infrastructure, so that you bring new products into that. So we are building on that, and also the concerns around you are dealing with the elites now. For that technological, transformation that is going on, that is where we will start. But the solution providers will also be looking at all these other small buckets. How do we create solutions for rural areas? How do we create solutions for people that don't have smartphones? So some of these things will not be done by central bank itself. We create that market space for people to get that innovations and come on board. There's also this question around whether the central bank is going to now take over the roles of commercial banks.
The commercial bank.
Yes. You see, the eNaira is an alternative to the cash naira. And what would a measure of the comfort of your life or the efficiency of your economy is the alternatives you have. If you work in NTA and you come from airport, what major means of transport do you have? Do you have train, bus, your own car, or you can use bicycle, or you can take a tram? The more you have those alternatives, the better is your life. So it is not that, okay, because you have a car, so close the rail tracks. So those opportunities are what makes your life a lot easier.
I'll put you on hold. Sorry, we want to be very strict with our timings. I'll just put you on hold. When we come back from the break, please, you may continue with your explanation. You're watching Good Morning Nigeria. It's 8:30 on the dot, and we want to take a commercial break.
Ministry of Works and Housing has the responsibility to help improve the quality and the quantity of the road infrastructure assets, which are the roads and the bridges and the highways. At the moment, we have over 13,000 kilometers of road network under repair, reconstruction, or rehabilitation out of the existing 35,000 kilometers of federal road network. These 13,000 kilometers are comprising about 850 different contracts which the ministry superintends across Nigeria. We are fulfilling the mandate of our ministry to expand the connectivity of Nigeria's states and by extension the towns and villages through roads.
The family of Aiweka of Uoha village in Onwa East LGA of Edo State cordially invites you to the funeral ceremony of our dearly beloved father, husband, uncle, grandfather, and great-grandfather, late Pa Charles Uzojere Aiweka, aged 87. Funeral arrangement, Thursday 28 October. Body leaves mortuary to his hometown, number 3, Upper Ivioho Quarters, Uoha, Onwa East Local Government Area. Vigil Mass, same day and venue, 6 p.m. Social wake keep 9 p.m. till dawn. Friday 29 October, funeral mass at the Brendan Catholic Church, Uoha, time 10 a.m. Interment follows immediately at his residence. Entertainment and reception holds on Saturday by 12 noon. Sunday 31st, Thanksgiving service at St. Brendan Catholic Church, Uoha, time 10 a.m. Dr. Kate Onoja, CEO, Grabo Fertility Clinic, for the family announcer.
Welcome back. You're watching Good Morning Nigeria. And just before we went on break, Dr. Hassan Mahmoud, Director in charge of Monetary Policy Department at the CBN, was trying to explain to us, the connection between the customer, the commercial banks, and the CBN within the transaction.
Thank you, Claire. I was explaining issues around financial disintermediation. And just off the record, when we were making conversations now, we also talked about how this could just displace the existing ecosystem we have. And because of that, we also have limits to the transactions you can do now. And it's also important to emphasize that the eNaira is not creating new money, because you are going to get the eNaira with your Naira, the cash Naira. So you use the balances in your account, Naira account, to get the eNaira. So you have two balances. If you have 1 million, 500,000 is in eNaira, 500,000 is in cash Naira, you still have 1 million. So we are not creating like new money within the system. The currency that we're going to be minting will be replaced by Naira cash. So you don't see that excess liquidity or the CI currency in circulation increasing substantially because we've done that eNaira. So, like I mentioned, it's an alternative, convenience way of still doing what the real Naira can do, and that's why we keep saying that it's the same Naira but more possibilities. You can do many more things with it.
What are the many more things practically?
Yes.
Because now there are a number of transactions that you can undertake. You want to buy power credit, you can use your card, you just go online, you don't have to go with physical cash. You want to buy an airline ticket, you use your debit card. Can you, under the current arrangements with the eNaira, can you make purchases using your eNaira to make transfers to these other entities, whether an airline, whether a hotel, or whether power or otherwise? Is that possible?
That's what Nee said. This is all based on the people, the merchants that come on board. The integration of their system with that of the eNaira. Yeah. Because what we've done is now, the eNaira's system has already been exposed to this merchant, has been exposed to financial institutions, even non-financial institutions. The more of that they come, now you can do transaction with eNaira with SAD. You can do with Fraser Suites Hotel. You can do with Transcorp. So it depends on how they come on board. And that coming on board will also depends on the kind of technology they have in space now, the system in place now, the systems they have, the need for them to know what is the benefit for, because you don't just come on something because everybody is doing it. What's going to be the benefit for me? How is it going to improve my businesses? Or how, people go to stores and buy things and they say, okay, we don't have change. Okay, so to give you my money in eNaira. So you have it in your wallet. It has the denomination you can get in any denomination. So those benefits are what will make people to get attracted to that, and we create that space for people to take advantage of those possibilities that can come to you for getting into that system. Also, because we don't want banks to just get out of business because of this, and like I said, you see, in this opportunities that will come, banks that we are seeing will create products that will build on this eNaira. Very quickly, you start seeing it. Even those that are not banks, fintechs, they will create products and solutions that people will buy into using the eNaira. I think Prof was talking about cross-border transaction. If I have eNaira wallet and somebody in Ghana or something in Germany also have an eNaira, maybe he has Nigerian residency or is a Nigerian or has an account in Nigeria, has an eNaira wallet. And he said, okay, I want to buy 10 bags of cement in Nigeria, 100 bags of cement in Nigeria, and the cement dealer has an eNaira wallet. If he makes that transaction, and it's already across the borders, but because they are on this same platform of the eNaira, that transaction is consummated. If you want to remit some funds from United States to Nigeria and somebody in Umahia in his village, and there's an eNaira exchange between them, this person has eNaira, you don't need to exchange the dollars again, because even if you bring the dollars in, you will still change it to Naira to make transactions within the economy. So we see that pressure on the exchange rate also being, substantially, reduced from that space. So there are many possibilities, and we create the space for people to tap on these opportunities to, explore the much you can gain from this.
Dr. Mahmoud, thank you very much. I hope, going forward, we will have clearer understanding of the eNaira, so that aspects relating to cross-border trade, perhaps we're looking at pseudo-convertibility of the Naira at some point when we get it into action. I was just wondering, Neya Kinsijo, I'd like you to speak to this. I know that we are in the age of speed, and new things are coming up every day. But are we having too many innovations too soon in our financial system? Particularly, people are just grappling with BVN. People are still trying to understand POS. People are trying to understand debit card. People are trying to just understand e-transactions. And then here we are now in Naira.
It's technology unraveling, and it's expected, you know. I think in the Marshall McLuhan postulation about the global village, you know, this had been expected. But we are now at the threshold, and I think it's just the beginning, really. All manners of innovations will come to play once the environment is enabled. Now, it's apparent people are latching onto the technology-enabled environment. If we had not had telecommunication going into the ease of telephoning, you know, it's not likely we'll have this. If we don't have blockchain technology, it's not likely we'll start thinking of e-currency, you know. So I think it's actually the beginning of new possibilities in the technological world. So but it is only the sovereigns, the countries and individuals that are up and doing, understanding the currency of the new challenges, you know, that are able to latch onto this, of course, to benefit from it. And that is why I am first, in reading about the eNaira the first time, I think about 3 months ago, I was actually surprised, you know, that we have a CBN, you know, that is proactive enough as at 2017 thinking about e-currency, when it was not even popular, you know, in consideration of the global world. So if we are able to be this proactive, I think it's appropriate that we continue to be current and contemporaneous in our thinking, and I'm talking about institutions across Nigeria, you know, because if people are now going into space, you know, for the fun of it in 15, 20 minutes, I want to imagine the kind of technological breakthroughs, you know, that we would be experiencing in the next 10 years. And any country that does not, you know, latch on to these possibilities would lag behind.
I like Professor Uche Waleke to also talk about that, you know, the connectivity between the customer and central bank and the commercial banks, and also the cross-border transaction itself. Then I was curious to know if this can, you know, be sustained, because assuming, you know, you're on board and you have your e-wallet, and maybe another government comes in and says, look, I don't buy this, and stops it, what happens?
Yeah, Claire, let me start by saying that yesterday, the central bank released a guideline on the eNaira, a handy guideline, just 12 pages. And it's important that that guideline, you know, is widely, you know, circulated because it contains what, you know, people should do when they lose their device. If you lose your phone, you know, what people should do when they feel that their e-wallet has been compromised. You know, all those things are there. So this issue of sensitization is very important. Which is why I want to thank you for inviting me, because as soon as I came here, I told Dr. Hassan that he will be coming to my university to give a talk to my students, and he agreed on the eNaira. So as part of this sensitization you know, effort. But it's important we don't conclude this discussion without mentioning issues around security and you know, privacy concerns, okay? Which, again, according to the guideline, the central bank says that they've been working on it since 2017. And of course, we know that the central bank has a technical partner, you know, BIT Incorporated, which, of course, we know is a company that has had, you know, that have endorsement by the World Bank and the IMF. But my advice to the central bank with respect to technical partner is to also involve our local fintech companies. You know, let it not just be BIT Incorporated. Let one or two local companies, local fintech companies, be also attached to them.
Why?
Yes, that's where you also expose them. Why was BIT Incorporated selected? It was selected because it already had experience of helping to create the CBDC in the Caribbean, in Barbados. Okay, so it already has that experience. So the central bank also is also helping to expose our fintech companies by attaching them to help develop this, you also open doors for them, especially now that so many countries are yet to start this. So if Ghana, for example, is starting, another country start, they can call Nigerian firms who will now go and also parade the experience they have doing it in Nigeria. So it's important, my advice to the central bank, to also involve local fintech companies. The other thing I want to say is, again, a question I asked Dr. Hassan when we met, you recall, when we met in Enugu, on this eNaira issue. And one of the questions I asked you had to do with this disintermediation, the risk of financial disintermediation. I had asked, by the time people convert their cash to digital currency, and remember too that the eNaira is a liability of the central bank. So people now convert their cash to move that their liability. My account in the bank is a liability of the bank. If I now move it from liability of the bank to liability of central bank, it reduces the cash or the available for banks to make loans, okay, to do financial intermediation, okay? So what is going to be the impact of that on even the bottom line of banks? I had asked that question. And I recall what you said was that banks would also be allowed to make loans in eNaira. Do you still stand by that? Since you said now that eNaira is a liability, we know it's a liability of the central bank.
Yeah.
Okay, so when banks now convert, if I convert my cash to eNaira, the bank no longer has that account to be able to give out as loans.
Yeah.
So that affects financial intermediation, and I want him to maybe seize the opportunity to explain that.
Waleke, I would like Shuaibu Idris to also weigh in on this, because it's amongst the bouquet of concerns that he earlier expressed, but you have elaborated on it. But Shuaibu Idris, take up this issue from there. What should banks do once the liability that they have to their customers now shifts to the central bank? Because Dr. Mahmoud here says that your eNaira makes you a direct customer of the central bank, a concern that you raised. And I also asked you to keep in mind, are we going to see the end of LCs once this becomes a full-blown operational basis for payments?
Thank you once again, Kingsley. Number one, the fact that we introduced eNaira doesn't signal the end of the operations of letters of credit, LCs as they are popularly called. Letters of credit are a set of agreements between an importer and an exporter, wherein certain terms and conditions of a contract is clearly being spelled out. The eNaira is only going to be a mechanism to make payments. So letters of credit will continue, to exist, as we know them. Number two, you did ask Ni Akinsuji the issue of challenges of multiple innovation. Kingsley, you were speaking the minds of quite a number of Nigerians. A number of people that I had discussed with yesterday did say we are grappling with so many challenges with point of sales, terminals, POS, USSD, and internet banking. We haven't finished that, and then we are now introducing eNaira. And I said to them, Nigeria, and indeed the Central Bank of Nigeria, has one or two options. One option is join the innovation trend and be part of the innovation, or you will be left at the train station or the bus station. And I think every one of us here supports the idea that Central Bank did very well by joining the innovation trend early enough. The third question regarding the financial disintermediation. My constituency, my primary constituency, the first place I worked after leaving university is bank. I feel threatened. And indeed, my first love, which is banking, is somewhat threatened. Dr. Hassan, in the next 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, chances are 60 to 75% of Nigerians that may be holding one bank account or another will have wallet, e-wallet, and in eNaira. That technically is an encroachment of the gamut of things the banks will be doing. And Professor Oweleke has aptly described it. There will be movement of cash, liquidity from the banks into the hands of the central bank. Now, take a country like Nigeria of 220 million population. We assume about 45% of us have bank account. 45% of 200 million is about how many? 90 million, thereabout. The central bank have the capacity to maintain, say, 60% of those bank accounts. There are a lot of challenges. Like I did say, yes, okay, the central bank has chosen to decide, announce, defend, then educate. I would have thought you should start with educate, then decide, then announce, then defend. The sequence appears to be somewhat, suspect, and it might signal a lot of problems. Yes, you are saying that there is enormous amount of information or communication materials that you have, but 6 weeks ago, we had this discourse. 10 weeks ago, you came out with a position paper on eNaira. Shouldn't that be the time when this discourse, this education should have been? The earlier you do that, the better. Yeah, like they did say, better late than never. I do hope that you will be you will do justice to the topic, particularly using the Nigerian languages, so that the common man, and I am concerned that we need to expand and get more Nigerians into the banking ecosystem. And I'm concerned that if we don't do that early, a lot of paranoia, a lot of skepticism will make people not to get involved in the eNaira.
Mr. Idris, thank you very much for your explanations. Let's bring in Dr. Mahmoud. You have the last line of charge in less than 2 minutes, please.
All right, thank you. I think let me just start on this perspective. We're mixing up a lot of things. One, and my other participants here will also attest to that. There is no automatic or what we call a positive correlation between the liquidity you have and the credit you create. There are other fundamental factors that enables bank to create credit. So for the fact that, and that's why central bank is struggling to make banks give out loans. Because banks don't give out loans just because they have the money. They have other things. How do I get this money back? What will be the return on it? What's my going concern? How will I? So those factors determine, and that's why we create the LDR, loan to deposit ratio, and increase it to 65%, and making sure that it's part of the regulatory requirement that banks meet that, because we want credit to penetrate to the rest of the economy. Yes, we are declaring profit, but give credit, and we even specify sectors to give credit. So for the fact that banks have billions of naira does not make them, and that's why you see them going to treasury bills, going to other risk-free assets. So let's also dissuade that because we've created eNaira, so banks will not be able to create credits. When they had were they creating the credit? So we need to make other sectors of the economy attractive for banks to get into. So disintermediation we've mentioned, we're engaging with banks a lot on this, and we're creating space for them to also be part of the system and gain from it, so that we don't, because it was a concern, and it's a global concern.
Dr. Mahmoud, I gave you 2 minutes, and I think you've made the point.
Thank you.
Yes, I'd like to appreciate you. Dr. Hassan Mahmoud, Director.
There's a point, sorry, Claire, that he didn't talk about, which has been raised. Yes. If an e-wallet or eNaira account holder is now a direct customer of the central bank, is the central bank enabled to manage 50 million or more customers?
Kingsley, sorry, Dr. Mahmoud.
I don't know.
We don't have this time. We cannot exhaust this discussion in this program, and that is why we will invite you again We have other platforms. We'll need to invite you, Dr. Mahmoud. I'd like to appreciate you immensely for your contributions. Let me also appreciate Professor Uche Waleke, Chairman, Chartered Institute of Bankers of Nigeria, Abuja Branch, Professor of Capital Market, Nasarawa State University, Kefi, and former Commissioner for Finance, Imo State. Thank you. Niyi Akinshijo, I'd like to appreciate you immensely, financial and investment analyst. Thank you very much. And finally, Shuaib Idris, who joined us from our Lagos studio, Managing Director, Timeline Consult Limited, and a former banker. Thank you very much, and do have a wonderful day to all of you. Let's quickly go to our sports desk and take our sports news.